paid good money to see this movie. When they go out to a theater, they want cold sodas, hot popcorn, and no monsters in the projection booth.
Everyone pretend podcasting isn't boring.
Turn it off. Turn it off.
Funny. I think this is the first time I've just been able to sit back, take a little breather throughout this whole thing. Is that weird? I don't know, I've been so focused on just, getting my dog part back. It's curious. I like it. I like just dedicating all my time to one goal. I like having a purpose. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling a little bit. I just feel really at ease right now,
Hey folks, welcome to a special episode of The Projection Booth. I'm your host, Mike White. On this episode, I'm talking with some of the creators behind AJ Goes to the Dog Park. I'm talking with AJ Thompson, who is also the star, executive producer, and of course the titular AJ of the movie. Also talking with producer Ben Hansen and writer-director Toby Jones. If you get a chance to see AJ Goes to the Dog Park, it is a wonderfully quirky film, kind of up there with Lightning Salad Moving Picture from 2008. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the interview. Who all do we have here today? I recognize AJ, of course. Can you other gentlemen announce yourselves?
Sure. Yeah, that's AJ, and then I'm Toby, the writer-director.
I'm Ben Hansen, the producer.
Gentlemen, I loved AJ Goes to the Dog Park. I'm so curious, though, as far as what your background is. And is this a whole series that you have going here? I've read about at least 2 other AJ titles.
Our background in filmmaking is just stuff we've made growing up as kids. And we have the local access show we did in high school. And we made an early AJ feature in high school. And then I, after graduating college, went off and worked in the animation industry for about 12 years, working on a few different shows for Cartoon Network and stuff. And then this is a project where I'm bringing back all these people. And there was an AJ short for Cartoon Network that we also did with a version of the character. And this is the thing of bringing back all the team of the people from when we grew up and took film classes and made films on the weekend to do a project together.
Were the other ones, they were all animated, and this is your first live action, AJ?
No, the other ones have been mostly live action with the exception of the animated short.
AJ, how do you feel being the star of these films?
I think it's great. I've always told Toby that the character that he writes for me is mostly just an exaggerated version of myself, so it works out well. I wouldn't say, and before this film, I wouldn't call myself an actor, but now I guess since I have a feature-length film, I'm an actor now. I can just keep doing it.
So how did you come up with the idea for this one?
I had the idea first. I've always wanted to do more AJ stuff. I joke that AJ is like my Jean-Pierre Léaud. It's almost like we're doing Antoine Doinel movies where we check in at different stages in our lives and do whatever comes to our mind at that time. And I had the general concept of, wouldn't it be fun to, with all of our adult experience, come back together in Fargo and do a micro budget movie in that old style. And the idea just came out of nowhere. It was just what's something we can do that wouldn't be too terribly expensive, that would be fun to make. And I was on a road trip, actually, and I drove by a dog park. And then the run of the concept of the mayor and the silly, dumb joke of the name change, and then the fighting, fishing, scrapping, scraping, sapping, all came to my head at that time. And so when we have this concept that AJ needs to fight, fish, scrap, scrape, and sap, we have a movie there almost, because if you look at a lot of great comedies, they're very episodic. And also working in animation, you're working in an 11-minute format. And so it's, I can treat each of these segments as a self-contained little section and come up with just like a nice little arc for each one of those. And that was the starting point where I was like, okay, this is like at least a skeleton I can build a movie out of.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. And I love how very self-referential everyone is, especially when it's, this will take us into the second act.
Yeah, it's a classic thing where you're sitting there writing and you're analyzing yourself as you go. And this was written in a very kind of freewheeling, almost exquisite corpse type way where I'd look at the stuff I wrote yesterday and be like, okay, whatever that was, and just try and focus on whatever's entertaining me in that moment. And so you end up having those little lines as part of it.
Specifically, we arrived on set of the hospital scene, and I read over the script, which I had already read before, and said, Toby, what the hell is this line, love and loaves? Why is there a bunch of bread by him? To which Toby said,
I said, I don't understand my own joke.
To which I responded by going out and buying more bread because I didn't think we had enough for the scene.
Yeah. There are a few jokes in there where I wrote it in a moment, and there was a choice that was being made to do something very creatively free, where I don't even necessarily remember the meaning of this joke, and we're going to commit to it and just see what happens.
I love that. I think that's what makes it such a success, is just that commitment to the jokes and the absurdity. I think it's wonderful. What were some of the biggest challenges of making this film other than trying to remember your own jokes?
I think the three of us would probably all agree that there wasn't any single part of producing this movie that wasn't a tremendous challenge. Because the fact is, we were making this movie out of pocket with no resources and no external support. And that meant that every single thing on screen is something that someone had to get and prepare. Every place they go is a place that had to get. You had to make a phone call and plan it. And there's a lot of locations and a lot of weird props and strange things that happen in this movie. And every single one, there's a story kind of behind that. What would you guys say was the hardest part of making?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Just reading through the script, I thought to myself, man, we're going to be going to so many places, and there's very few that we go back to. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to imagine in order to film everything. When we first did the beginning part, we shot it all in order to have the first 15 minutes to show off. Like a demo, basically, of what the movie could be like. But after that, we were like, there's no way we're going to finish this in a reasonable amount of time, doing it in order. So we had to do we changed the whole way we filmed it to be able to actually shoot the scenes, shoot out at a whole location and all that.
Yeah, and a funny example of that is the location of the mayor's office. We went there and we shot there that first year. It was an abandoned room in an old office building. And we returned there a year later to shoot the rest of the scenes that are in the mayor's office, and they had turned it into a exercise room with a giant treadmill in the middle of it. So we had to rebuild the entire location to look like we shot it from a year ago, and then we had to shoot. And of course, everybody's schedules are tight. We're shooting nights and weekends. Everybody has day jobs. And so we're shooting all the rest of the mayor scenes. I believe we shot all the rest of the mayor scenes after the 15-minute mark in one day.
That's correct.
Which was nearly impossible.
That was a 12-hour that we did several scenes on it with a lot of people sitting in standby, being very patient for us. I would say the biggest challenge for me, and I think others too, was because these aren't professional actors, or they're not acting full-time, they're not writing full. So when there's a crowd scene, those are people, our friends and family from around Fargo, North Dakota, who were generous enough to come that day. And if it's an outdoor scene and it rains, it's the worst feeling in the world.
You have 30 people there who are donating their time to be extras, and you got to send everybody home because otherwise you're going to be in the rain.
The climactic scene takes place at the dog park that we're filming at, and that particular day in North Dakota was 40 below zero.
Oh.
We all had to huddle in our cars between shots and then ran out and shoot them. And we actually had hot chocolate that we poured out for the people that was like basically refrigerator cold within 2 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Man. And then you mentioned all the locations. I intended to write this as something that could be fun, that we could shoot pretty quick, pretty easy, but it was so much. The fact is, I say that and then I write a scene in a church it's a 10-second scene that takes place in a church. Where it's one joke that takes 10 seconds, but that means we have to get a church. We have to go there. We have to get all that stuff clear. And then I'm like, yeah, what if we do a big scene that takes place in an airport? How do you get an airport? Every single one of those locations was its own self-contained challenge. And then one location, the coffee kiosk, we shot the first scene in the first year at a different location, and then they wouldn't let us come back to shoot the other coffee kiosk scenes. And so we had to reshoot the first stuff to match the new location and all that stuff.
They were not thanked in the ending credits.
No.
Were you guys disruptive? Why would they not let you come back?
Genuinely, no idea. Sorry.
Wow.
No, it's true. We could not have, I swear to God, we could not have been nicer. And we were probably there for maximum 40 minutes. So I have no idea what happened. So I think they just didn't want to deal with it. And look, and the thing is, shooting in Fargo, 9 times out of 10, you find somebody who's so willing to find a way to help you. And we were able to get an airport. We were able to get a church. We were able to get something that looks like a hospital. And so weirdly that the coffee kiosk is the one that we ended up having trouble with.
Though we did want to shoot one of the fight scenes between the coach and AJ at an actual MMA gym. And the MMA gym said, absolutely, come on by. And we came and they said, oh, we're very sorry. We did sell the actual MMA ring 2 days ago. Did you want to film in that? So then we had to go rent a wrestling ring that we then had set up in our friend's backyard for 2 days straight. Very generous of them.
Yeah.
Which also doubled as your new bedroom.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah, that was we had written all that stuff to take place in the wrestling ring, but we were going to switch to a different location for the actual fight that occurs. And then we had to think on the fly and be like, okay, I guess we're going to have to add the entire fight scene to the same location and shoot all of that in a day or two. A lot of people very generously excited to help out and make these impossible things happen.
AJ, you mentioned shooting in order and getting that 15-minute demo reel going. Is that when the money men came in and they were just like, yes, AJ goes to the dog park. Let me write out a check right now.
Right now, we're still waiting for the money man to come. The magical money fairy to come. And no, we were really hoping, we just wanted to get feelers out there and say, hey, we can make this funny thing. We don't have a lot of money to put into it. We're going to make it and do what we can. And pretty much everyone's like, that's funny. And then we got nothing. So we were like, we got to just do it. We're going to do it ourselves.
And this is the crucial choice that gets made, where it's, I wrote that script. The script was complete. It was ready. I worked in animation for many years, and I had the highfalutin thought in my head, it's, well, maybe I could leverage my experience in the industry to make something like this happen. And I called a couple people and tried a little bit. And you have that moment where it's like, oh, do I want to spend the next 3 years trying to sell this thing? Or do I want to spend the next 3 years producing this thing? And so we made the call to produce it. And after we shot that first 15 minutes, it was another version of that conversation where it's, do we keep sending this Vimeo link of the first 15 minutes around, or do we just go make it? And so it was a kind of a hurdle we jumped twice to make the choice to make the movie the way we did.
Mm-hmm. How long did it actually take to shoot this?
That would be 3 years, Mike.
Wow.
3 years, nights and weekends. I'd come to visit Fargo for 2 months at a time, sleep in my parents' basement, and that's how it worked.
Now, not 3 years constantly, but again, we all have full-time jobs, so it was 3 years as we could in about 3 month spurts. But those 3 months were very planned out, where basically every weekend was a working on the film weekend, lots of weeknights. Mm-hmm. We filmed all of the boat scenes on the lake at someone's lake cabin who we knew in western Minnesota in 1 weekend, which was
very challenging.
I mean, we knocked out the first 15 minutes that first year, and it just as an example of how much better we got at it. So you're able to finish the rest of the movie in 2 years.
And AJ, what do you do other than act and star in movies? Because obviously your schedule has to be the most flexible of everybody's.
I work computer programming, so I work at home, and they're super generous with being able to work my schedule however. And they're actually really supportive of my other stuff that I do too. All of my coworkers have seen the movie and everything too.
And the character of AJ, because he's based on you and those are your dogs, and the job title is the job title you had at the time, which was technical consultant.
Yeah, I was a technical consultant when we first started filming that. So,
did your pulse go up too much while you were working on this?
Actually, I would say acting in this made my pulse go down compared to my day job. So I was much better to be an actor. So.
I mean, with the number of effects and everything that you guys have in here, post must have taken forever too.
Yes, it did and it didn't. I think less time than you might expect, considering how much there is at our kind of budget scale. But a lot of post was, I've locked the picture, which was hard. But really what it came down to is color correction, which we worked with someone who was very good with that, and it was very fast and a super good process. A lot of the digital VFX and came from my friend Owen Dennis, who I work with in animation. I went to college with. He did a show called Infinity Train, and he just took it on as a personal project to knock out all those digital VFX that are in the movie. It's just because he loves VFX. And so he was just like so excited to do them. He was adding stuff that we didn't even ask for. And then he is also responsible for something we can't spoil, but the last section of the movie where there's a certain shift that happens, he personally was responsible for all those effects that happen and all that crazy stuff that comes out at the very end as well.
I also did want to give a shout out. We can't spoil because it is part of the ending, but the theater featured there is a real theater in Fargo, North Dakota, an independently owned one that if you don't know too much about it, you should see, because I hope it spreads the word for everybody about some of the things we have in Fargo.
Very nice. And who did all the model work? Because it took me a little bit to realize that I was even looking at a model. It was so good.
See, that was Owen Dennis.
Wow.
He took it upon himself. For example, this doesn't spoil the ending, but there's a model of the dog park itself. And that was something that I didn't even ask for. He was just like, you know what I think we should have is a model of the park in both the summer and the winter. And he sent me these shots, and it was just like, this is the kind of thing, just like an amazing collaboration where you find these people, and just like Ben and AJ and Tucker, our cinematographer, people who are just like, oh, you're doing something cool? I want to take part and do something cool as well and jump in and help out however I can. And that was the case with my friend Rebecca Sugar, who was an early champion of the movie from the script phase and was just like, I would love to do a song for the end credits. And I was just like, there's nothing I would love more. So it's all this thing where you just get these cool people who want to collaborate and just take part in something like this, because it doesn't happen all the time.
It was very interesting when Owen called me up and said, can you go to the Fargo Theater with a tape measure and measure how long the sidewalk is and see how tall it is? I'm trying to do something. And I was like, all right, I'll go do it on my work break.
And he didn't tell us until we saw the footage.
Where did you find your other actors?
They were all over the place. So it's really a combination of things where it's people like AJ, who you've acted in a bunch of our projects before. And then there are several local like theater actors who have a tremendous amount of experience. The mayor and Captain C-Stab and the Suit Aides are all people who do a lot of local performing. And then there are several people who have little to no acting experience who we just really liked them and wanted to bring them in. The actor who plays Thomas is someone who he's someone you know from the world of the political world.
He is the head of the North Dakota building trades. And his previous acting experience was appearing in a U.S. Senate ad for Heidi Heitkamp's re-election campaign in 2018.
Yep. And we brought him in. He was just like, sure, I'll try it. And he was such a mensch to work with. He was so much fun. And he has so many great gags in the movie. He's so hilarious. And then, and also, to give an example of these choices we make about what type of performer do you want to bring in for a scene, both of my parents are in the movie and they each have a spoken line. And both of them, after they did the scene, they were like, oh no, I was terrible. I ruined it. Oh no, what did I do? And I was like, Mom, Dad, if I thought a pro actor would have been the better, funnier option for this scene, I would have called a pro actor. I called because I think this is the better, funnier option for this scene.
When did you actually lock the picture?
The picture happened, I want to say, end of 2023. And then so from there was the mad dash to get the color correction, sound design, music score, and the digital VFX were all done in parallel with the process, where I would have a kind of a version of a scene and I would send it to Owen and he would send me some cuts back and I would cut them in and lock around them.
Is Fantastic Fest your premiere?
Yeah, this is the world premiere of AJ Goes to the Dog Park. We're really excited to share it with an audience and hopefully people love it. And then after this, we're moving on to Beyond Fest in Los Angeles.
And have your friends seen this? Have you shown this to your cast and crew?
And we had a special screening and preview screening in North Dakota, and everybody who worked on it, and all of our friends and family got to see it. Ben, how would you say that was?
It was a really proud moment for me. We were doing a Q&A afterwards, and it's a big, silly movie, and I was trying really not to cry before I went up there because we worked on it for 3 years, and I almost succeeded.
Yeah. That was part of the Fargo Film Festival, and they were really excited to. They had this local film going on. They were like, yeah, let's get the opportunity to show a preview of this thing. And at the time, we didn't know what was going to happen with the movie. It wasn't even finished yet. They just were excited to see it in its current state and share with everybody.
It was super exciting because we get to go to Los Angeles next, and we'll be in a Chicago area film festival in November, and hoping to keep going.
When you ended this one with a bit of a cliffhanger, is there going to be another AJ film in our future?
I made the comparison to Antoine Doinel earlier, and so perhaps in another 10 years, we'll get back together and do something with the AJ character. But hey, in the meantime, it ends in a certain way. And if anyone wants to, let's say, get together and help produce a syndicated fantasy action TV series in the style of Xena Warrior Princess, starring AJ going on adventures every week, I think that would be a logical next step.
I would definitely be down for that. I would watch that one religiously. What about you guys? What else are you working on these days?
I can't say I'm doing anything too much creatively, really. Myself, I'm just trying to market this and get this out.
Mm-hmm. And then for me, I'm back working in the animation industry, so I got my day gig there as a supervising director on a cartoon at Warner Brothers. And while I'm working on that, I'm making plans to shoot another micro-budget feature, hopefully next year.
The only thing, I guess, because I don't do the filmmaking as a full-time job, this is my first time producing a movie, was I was trying to do some writing for Toby's podcast, Toby's Tall Tales, which you should check out if you haven't listened to. I hope to actually complete that, because I had a couple of, I thought, pretty good ideas where you could do a second season with.
Mm-hmm. And then, if we get to do the next thing, we'll probably all be the same team coming back to do another project. Hopefully sooner rather than later.
Is there a good place for people to keep up with AJ Goes to the Dog Park?
I suppose that you just follow my social media, Toby Jones, and that's where I'm posting all the updates so far. And so far, we've got this festival run, then we'll see how that goes. And then hopefully the world at large gets a chance to see it after that.
Guys, I had a great time watching AJ Goes to the Dog Park. Really tickled my funny bone, so much so that I'm already starting to spread the word just with my friends. And I hope that everybody that listens to this podcast gets a chance to check it out, because I thought it was wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's great.
And as someone who's listened to your podcast for 10 years, that means a lot to me.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. And you live to tell about it. I love it.
I looked up the movie Possession after I saw Possession, and you had a 3-hour episode on it, and it was all uphill from there.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate this, and good luck in your adventures, because I cannot tell you how much I like this movie.
Oh, that means a lot. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, lame rebuttal. This one's a brindle, and this one's a red nose. What's up in this bindle might give you a red nose. Party like a rock star, so delirious. I party like a dog star, so serious. Continue with the blah, blah, blah. My game's too cool. cold, period. She thinks you're cute, she thinks I'm cute. When she goes to scoop, that's when I'm gonna swoop. Won't hesitate, take her up on the play date. Us four taking pics, Mr. Chow, you're so great. Treats and toys and sweaters and blankets and pillows and a new bed, all for you. I wouldn't trade you for a smooth fox terrier. I wouldn't trade you for a Spanish water dog.
Get your leash, get your leash, get your leash. The park will be closing in 5 minutes.